I never imagined I'd be humiliated by my director, but what happened next changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart, the day my world shifted on its axis and the air felt thick with judgment. It started out like any other day on set. The chatter of the crew, the smell of fresh coffee, the frantic rustle of costumes in the corner. But today, anticipation hung heavier in the air. Our film was weeks away from release, but the mood was anything but celebratory. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my costume, heart hammering in my chest. The black dress hugged my frame, but it felt like a noose tightening around my throat. Why had I let myself agree to playing the lead role in a story cloaked in secrets and deceit? A low murmur made its way through the room, a whisper that clawed at my attention like a hungry beast. I recognized the voices of my co-stars, the familiarity almost soothing. But something shifted. I could sense the tension swirling around me, like the silence before a storm. Then there was Marcus, the director. Charismatic, brilliant, an enigma wrapped in a tailored suit, with wildly ambitious visions that often spiraled into nightmares. He was known for his explosive temper and sharp tongue, and today, I was at the center of his focus. I could see him pacing, jaw clenched, a storm brewing behind his dark eyes. The moment came unceremoniously. One moment, we were prepping for a scene, and the next, Marcus exploded. His voice thundered like a crack of lightning. "That's not how you do it." My heart sank as he pointed at me, the accusation hanging in the air like a heavy fog. "You call that acting? It looks pathetic." Gasps rippled through the crew. I felt their eyes pinning me down, invasive, insatiable. I wanted to crawl into a hole and never come out. My cheeks burned with shame, hot and electric. I pressed my trembling hands against my sides, looking around for a lifeline, but no one met my gaze. Each second felt like an eternity. The world blurred, sounds turned to whispers, and my heartbeat pounded in my ears. "Start over," he barked, and there was nothing I could do but nod. Tears prickled at the corners of my eyes, blurring my vision, but I focused. I had to. A deep breath, I could do this. I replayed the lines in my mind, just trying to shake off the sting of his words. And then it happened. The unexpected twist. Behind Marcus, a figure emerged from the shadows, a stranger, shrouded in obscurity. They stood there, silent and still, watching the unfolding chaos with a knowing smile. I blinked, straining to understand, my heart racing. Who were they? What was their connection to Marcus? And why did I suddenly feel a chill crawling down my spine? Before I could process the moment, the set's atmosphere shifted again. Marcus caught sight of the stranger. His confidence faltered, and an uneasy tension filled the air, palpable and suffocating. "Who are you?" he asked, voice low and threatening. The stranger took a step forward, but I couldn't see their face. My stomach twisted into knots as the words lodged in my throat, heavy and intimidating. "I have something you need to hear," they replied, voice smooth like velvet, yet carrying an edge that cut through the air. That was when I realized I was teetering on the edge of a cliff, not knowing how far down the fall might go. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension hung thick in the room as I tried to gather my scattered thoughts, the words of the stranger echoing in my mind. Who were they, and what could they possibly have to say that would matter to Marcus? The crew remained almost frozen, their loyalty split between the chaos of Marcus's outburst and this unexpected visitor who seemed to command a certain authority. "Step aside and let us handle this," Marcus spat, the veneer of his confidence cracking like glass. I could see the way his hands trembled just slightly, a flicker of uncertainty creeping into his demeanor. It was all too surreal. A man who had always been so in control now faced something he couldn't seem to navigate. Not until you hear what I have to say, the stranger insisted, their presence filling the space like smoke, undeniable and inescapable. My heart raced as I realized they had entirely shifted the power dynamics in the room. I had heard stories, whispers of secrets Mark was hiding, pieces of his life that he had managed to keep under lock and key. Was this stranger about to peel back the curtain on a part of his world I had never seen? Who sent you? Marcus seethed, his voice a low growl. Someone who knows you, who knows everything you've done, the stranger replied, their eyes now boring into Marcus with a determination that sent chills down my spine. I felt a flicker of hope. Could this be the moment Marcus faced some of his past transgressions? Then I looked at my co-stars, their tense expressions reflecting my own internal tempest: fear, anticipation, compassion. I had always been the one who sought connection, the one who believed in redemption. But here I was, caught between wanting to protect Marcus, the man who had once inspired me, while also yearning for the truth to unravel before my very eyes. As the atmosphere thickened and the tension played out like a symphony of suppressed emotions, a gentle hand rested on my shoulder. I turned to find Clara, the lead makeup artist, her face soft with concern. "You're doing great. Just breathe. This isn't your fault," she murmured, a whisper of warmth and kindness amidst the chaos. It was a small gesture, but it was just enough to anchor me. But as I tried to ground myself, the scene exploded further. "You're just hiding, Marcus. It's time to come clean." The stranger pressed, their voice echoing in the silence that followed, each word like a hammer striking against the wall of bravado Marcus had built around himself. Something deep inside me shifted. Though I had sympathized with his struggles, I couldn't deny the pain his tyranny had caused me. My heart ached for the person behind closed doors, the artist desperately grasping for control, yet blind to the consequences of his rage. "Enough!" Marcus shouted, his voice cracking, the mask of the powerful director shattered. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then let's find out, shall we?" The stranger challenged, advancing a step closer, their shadow stretching across the room like a portent. I could see the panic weaving itself into Marcus's features. The typical boldness that had once drawn me to him now felt like a heavy cloak, too tight, too binding, suffocating. "What do you want?" he demanded, eyes darting between the crew and the stranger. A deafening silence followed, the atmosphere heavy with unasked questions. I felt my heart thud violently against my ribcage. What if this stranger knew something that could destroy him? What if they held the power to turn everything we had worked for into dust? In that moment, a flicker of light dawned upon me. I was no longer bound by fear. Inspiration surged like electricity, and my voice cut through the tension. "Stop," I said, surprising even myself. "Whatever this is, we can face it together. But you have to be honest." The room seemed to sway with the weight of my words. Clara squeezed my shoulder, a ghost of a smile dancing on her lips, but Marcus' eyes flared with disbelief. Before he could respond, the stranger interjected smoothly. "She's right, Marcus. It's time you confronted your demons. Or are you still afraid of what the truth might reveal?" The air crackled with potential, and as I searched Marcus' face, a maelstrom of emotions swirled within him: anger, fear, uncertainty, and perhaps even a glimmer of relief. I longed to reach out, to bridge the chasm that now felt insurmountable. But just as Marcus opened his mouth to respond, the set's entrance swung wide, and an unexpected figure stepped into the light: Eva, a former cast member who had walked away from the project amidst controversy with Marcus. She appeared unexpectedly, the air around her thick with unresolved histories and unshed tears. "Marcus," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "There's something you don't know, something I've kept from you." And with that revelation, the storm was unleashed. My breath hitched, the ground feeling unsteady beneath me as the shadows of our shared past loomed large, threatening to consume everything I had dreamed of on this journey. I felt the weight of the moment pressing down, and I knew that whatever lay ahead would redefine everything. The air in the room shifted once again, tension coiling tightly in my chest as Eva took a tentative step forward, her eyes locked onto Marcus. It was a look heavy with unspoken words, laden with the emotional baggage of their shared history. Each heartbeat echoed with the anticipation of revelations that could shatter the already fragile foundation of our production. Eva, Marcus breathed, a mix of disbelief and caution twitching at the corners of his mouth. He took a small step back, almost as if the weight of her presence had physically pulled him away. "What could you possibly have to say after all this time? I didn't come here to stir things up," she replied softly, casting a glance at the crew who seemed equally captivated and anxious. "I came to protect Yus before it's too late." My mind raced. Protecting whom? The man standing before me was a lion dressed in delusions of grandeur, but now the tables were turning, and I could see the vulnerability creeping in. A flicker of empathy came over me, the little flickers of humanity I had believed were buried deep within him. Protect me from what? Marcus shot back, crossing his arms tightly over his chest, armor against the undeniable crack in his bravado. "From the consequences of the secrets you refuse to face," she said, her voice unwavering despite the tremors visible in her clenched fists. "I'm here because I've learned some things I wish I could forget, but I can't. And neither can you." Confusion swirled like a tempest around us. The crew exchanged glances, silent witnesses to this moment that felt like the beginning of the end for someone. My heart ached for the man who had once inspired my journey, who stood now at the perilous edge of a precipice. As if sensing my struggle, Clara tightened her grip on my shoulder, grounding me. "You've got this," she whispered fiercely, supporting me amidst the chaos. I realized we were in a shared experience, all of us at the mercy of the tides of Marcus's past. I spent years trying to overcome my mistakes, trying to mold this into something we could all be proud of. Marcus yelled, his voice dripping with pain and frustration. The bravado was gone, revealing a raw, pulsating vulnerability. "But you wouldn't understand, Eva. No one ever does." "Understand?" She scoffed, defiance flaring in her eyes. "I didn't just leave the project, I left you, and I did it for a reason. You keep dragging everyone down into the shadows of your regrets while pretending like you're the king of the world. It's time to face your demons, Marcus." The room exploded into a chaotic blend of emotions, disbelief, rage, and a desperate hope. What had initially felt like a game of control had transmuted into a raw appraisal of truth, with Eva's entrance tipping the scales in a way I couldn't have predicted. "Stop it," I finally said, stepping into the fray. "Whatever happened between you, can we just take a moment and acknowledge the impact this is having on all of us?" My voice shook but held firm. "We're not just characters in your story, we're real people with our own emotions tied to all of this." "Emotions?" Marcus laughed, the sound bitter and hollow. "You think this is about feelings? It's about survival. My survival. And the longer I let this drag out, the more it threatens everything I've built." I stepped closer, heart hammering insistently within me. "But at what cost, Marcus? If everything you've built is built on lies, isn't it worth asking if that's even a foundation you want to stand on?" As Marcus faltered, staring blankly at the walls that once seemed so solid, I felt a sliver of hope breach the thick cloud of despair. Maybe, just maybe, the light of truth could shine through the cracks of his armor. But just as I felt ourselves edging towards something real, the noise of a ringing phone pierced through the tension, blaring like a siren. "Who could that be?" Clara murmured, her brow furrowing. The phone continued. Each ring was a marker of the impending doom looming over us. Marcus' expression darkened as he fished the phone out of his pocket, the screen illuminating his startled face. The sight seemed to siphon out the little glimmer of hope that had found a home between us. "It's Gina," he whispered, voice choked with an emotion I couldn't quite place. The air crackled with every gaze upon him as we all awaited his next move. "What does she want?" I pressed, my voice sharper than intended, but the anxiety coursed through me like wildfire. "I don't know," he muttered, staring down at the screen, words lingering unspoken in the fragile silence that cradled us, thick with unshed cries. There, in that heart-stopping moment, the realization hit me like a train slamming into its target: the truth, his truth, may not simply be something he had to face alone. Would the revelation of Gina's intentions be the reckoning he needed, or would it herald more chaos, pulling us further into the wreckage? My heart raced. What did we do now? The ringing stopped abruptly, leaving behind an unsettling silence that reverberated in the air, thick with anticipation. Marcus, still clutching the phone like a lifeline, hesitated. I could see the struggle reflected in his eyes, as if he were wrestling with the weight of 1,000 unspeakable decisions. "Pick it up," Eva urged, her voice steady, though I could sense the tremor of underlying fear. "You can't keep running." "Not anymore." He drew a shuddering breath, and the ambient sound of the crew shifting and whispering melded with the psychological storm brewing in the room. As time dragged on, the silence deepened, drawing everyone closer, not just physically, but emotionally. Reluctantly, he swiped the screen, his thumb trembling like a pendulum caught between the choice of past and present. "Gina?" He finally managed to whisper, a ghost of a word, filled with uncertainty, a question mark lingering in the air. "Marcus, we need to talk." "It's important." Gina's voice crackled through the speaker, laden with urgency. It broke through the tension, cascading fragments of memories between them like a filmstrip replayed. My chest tightened at the depth of the emotion I could sense in his response. As he listened, the raw vulnerability of his past spilled forth, every unvoiced fear thrumming in the space as the remnants of cruel nostalgia teased the edges of hope. "You shouldn't be calling me." Not after. His voice trailed off, and I saw the way his jaw clenched, a man on the edge of unraveling. I turned to Eva. She wore a mask of determination tainted by concern. The light in her eyes darkened with every emotion bubbling to the surface, unrequited feelings flashing like ghosts in the night, their shapes too familiar to ignore. "He needs to face her," I whispered to her, unsure whether I was trying to convince her or myself, but just then, he swung his gaze back to us, eyes like storm clouds brimming with unspent rain. "This isn't just about me anymore, is it?" He breathed, wrestling with the realization that his world had expanded far beyond the hollow echo of his own mistakes. "I can't keep being the surefire protagonist of a story that's spiraling out of control," Marcus sighed. In that moment, I felt as if the collective breath of our crew was held tight in the space between us, waiting for the storm to either break or intensify. "Tell her you're not alone," I impulsively suggested, stepping closer. "Whatever you share, we share it too. You have us, Marcus. You don't have to walk this path alone." It felt audacious, uncharted, as if I had dared to dive into waters too tumultuous for comfort. Clara's hand found mine, squeezing gently, a sign of her unwavering support. "You need to break that cycle, love. Speak your truth." The warmth of her words wrapped around me, and I offered my gaze to him, hoping to ignite that flicker of defiance I had seen moments earlier. With steely resolve, Marcus nodded, seemingly bolstered by our quiet solidarity. "You're right. I need to stop pretending, especially if I want to save what's left of us." "Gina," he hesitated, a lump in his throat. Time stretched, and it felt as if we were all suspended in anticipation, teetering on the edge of clarity and chaos. "What if she reveals something I can't handle?" he asked, vulnerability spilling from his usually unshakable demeanor. "What if she exposes